I'm the Deadwood Jedi, and we are back. We're going to be looking at the advanced concepts today for the arena calculator from Zombie Lord. Zombie Lord's here with me. Will you say hi, please, for them, please, Zombie Lord?
Hey, Deadwood, how's everyone doing out there?
So we're going to go ahead and go over the advanced concept of the calculator. We went in the previous video talking about the basics of it, just how to get your team in and get it going, answer some pretty common questions that come about from it. And now we're going to go into the advanced stuff. And so buckle down a little bit. This might be a little bit more complicated for you, but we're going to try and make it as simple and easy as possible and as straightforward as we can. So let's jump into it. All right, Zombie. So we're going to be starting off. We've already inputted some of the champions here for everybody to see. So we have Lysandra in as our lead. We have Frozen Banshee in as the second champion. Madame Saris is going to be our third champion. And then Molly Tankard to finish it off. Now, granted, this is not a typical arena team, but it does allow us to show you a lot of different things. We have Lysandra as our buffer as well as speed lead. We have Frozen Banshee, and we're going to be able to use her A2 ability to actually give us a turn meter boost. And then we have Madame Saris here to strip debuffs from the enemy. And very last, we have Molly Tankard just to kind of round things out. So that's going to pretty much do it. So we started just like we did last time. We have the champions in there. We went ahead and we chose Lysandra from the drop down for the speed lead aura. And we got that 24%. We've kept her speed at 250. No reason to change that for this example. And then her calculated speed comes out to 275.94, 276 or so. So one of the things that you can do with this calculator, and Zombie, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we can actually adjust for things like having the enemy having a hegemon on their team, and us having a hegemon on our team, and what that might do. Can you walk us through that just a little bit?
Yes, so Hegemon has a passive that allows him to go first. And when he does that, um, his ability when he hits people can cause both masteries on your team and the enemy's team to proc. And these advanced features will allow you to calculate how that will affect your speed and what you can do. And it'll also give you advanced features like the Molly passive, so that if you put a Molly on your team, like we have,
Mm-hmm.
and the enemy Hegemon goes, he does an AoE attack, and when Molly is hit, she increases your all of your allies by 15% turn meter.
Interesting. And so I selected that, and I see the enemy's calculated speed goes up, but ours doesn't. And I'm
That's
assuming,
correct.
and so the reason why is that our team's getting an extra 15%, and so for their lead champion to still be as fast as our lead champion, um, their actual speed has to be higher. Is that about right?
That is 100% correct. So your champion is already established. Your Lysandra is already geared out. She already has all her glyphs on, and she's set at her 250 speed. By adding Molly to your team against a Hegemon team, you are increasing the turn meter of your Lysandra and everybody else on your team. This means that the next champion on that team, because obviously Hegemon will go first, but let's say the enemy Arbiter
Mm-hmm.
has to be 292 or faster in order to go before your Lysandra goes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And then I see here we have masteries as well. So just to like kind of cover this whole section here, we have enemy hegemon and we have allied hegemons. So I'm assuming that the enemy hegemon, that's if they have one and he goes first. So these masteries, I'm seeing cycle of revenge, timely intervention, and then a combination of the two. And so basically, if one of our champions has one of those, we would go ahead and click that, or if all of our, if or if it's just our lead champion has one of those.
This is going to affect your lead champion.
Gotcha.
Um, but other members of your team can have this mastery on them. They will also get the turn meter increase. But for the purposes of calculating not being cut in, we are trying to see what your fastest champion needs to move at. So it's the fastest champion that will have to have this mastery on.
Understood. Understood. Okay, great. So if Lysandra doesn't have any of those masteries, we're not going to select this. But if our lead champion does have those masteries, then we can select this and see what happens. And these are still percentage chances, right? So they're not guaranteed to happen.
The Cycle of Revenge is a 50% chance to proc. The Timely Intervention is a 100% chance to proc. In the condition that one of your team falls below 25% HP, there is a strategy out there, event strategy out there, that if you put a weak champion in your lineup versus a Hegemon, when the Hegemon goes first and kills that champion, he's going to give your team a 20% turn meter buff.
Got you. Got you. Okay, great. We just need to know that if we choose Cycle of Revenge, we need to realize that that's not going to happen every time.
No, this
But
goes back into that when we were talking about before, theory crafting and coming up with different strategies, knowing that, okay, I have this strategy available, but it's only going to work 50% of the time.
got you. Like I said, guys, these are advanced tools here. So this is kind of some next level stuff, but it can be very, very helpful for you. All right, excellent. So Cycle of Revenge is very strong, but it procs half the time. Timely Intervention is very strong and procs 100% of the time. Can be really useful for your lead champion to have to get that extra little boost, especially good on somebody like an Arbiter, quite frankly. But excellent. That's good to know. But we do have Molly on our team, so we are going to get that. And I also see here, if we have a Hegemon, we can do the same thing for our enemies. So if they have Timely Intervention or Cycle of Revenge, we can click that, and you can see immediately that the enemy speed goes down as a result. And they can also have some passives here too. They can have a Molly Tankard or a Coronar as well. So if we had one of those lit up, they would activate for them if we had a Hegemon also. Very cool, very excellent. It's always hard to figure out how to combat Hegemon. This definitely gives us some skills and abilities to do that. And then let's see what else we have. So we have Lysandra here, right? I'm going to assume we want to go ahead and choose her skill that's going to give her the turn meter boost. It's her A3, I believe. And I'm pretty sure you can see the change down here on Frozen Banshee as soon as we do that. And Lysandra's A3 ability is not just a turn meter boost and a speed boost. It's also a decreased speed for the other team. Is that right? Or a decreased turn meter?
That is correct. This is why she's hands down the best speed champion for Arena. If you build her with high accuracy, you're not only getting the 30% turn meter increase, which for your allies, you're getting the 30% speed buff. You also have a chance to proc a 30% decrease turn meter on the enemy team.
That's extremely strong. I've gotten my butt whooped by Lysandra many times. So if Lysandra can do that, how do we want in the calculator? How do we want to show that? Because all this other stuff is just what she's doing for our team. How do we show that she's decreasing the turn meter for the other team?
So if you want to see if you have high enough accuracy for your Lysandra to proc those abilities, you can select under here under ally accuracy, select yes. This is calculating the speed based off of your Lysandra winning the speed accuracy check.
Fantastic.
Or
so
the accuracy check.
You guys can actually see down here the Frozen Banshee speed. You can see how much slower she needs to go if Lysandra can proc that ability. Now that is, as Zombie said, it's an accuracy check, so it's not 100%. It's not guaranteed. But if you want to see the effects of it, just you can select ally accuracy, and that's going to simulate an accuracy ability. So that's very cool. All right, excellent. I know we have all this other gray stuff over here. Like we have ally skill, enemy masteries, enemy passives, enemy accuracy. What are these here for exactly?
So ally skills are special skills or passives that certain champions in the game are going to be adding to your turn meter, either increase or decrease, depending on specific conditions.
So these are just specific champion skills.
These are the specific champions in the game that do something different based off of something special happening. Gotcha. Like Sathalia, is one down there, is if she removes 5 or more debuffs, she does an additional 10%
Uh-huh.
turn meter reduction, or adding turn meter to your team.
Got you.
But it's based off of her removing 5 debuffs.
And we have the
So
similar things for Scartosis, Mausoleum Mage, Frozen Banshee. They each have a unique ability that's dependent on certain things.
correct. And since any possible possibilities there can be procced, it's selectable for you to test and theory craft each one of them.
Excellent. Okay, that's great. And then we have enemy masteries here. Now, is this similar to what we were looking at with Hegemon?
Exactly. So when every time your champion goes, they may have the ability to proc a mastery on the enemy team that can increase the turn meter of the enemy team. And if that happens, your team needs to go faster to counteract that. So if you are using a champion, Lysandra is not hitting the enemy or removing anything from the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
She's not removing anything from your allies. So she's not going to have the chance to proc an enemy mastery. But other champions in the game will have that ability.
Got you. Like, I mean, Hegemon obviously attacks your enemy, so they can proc Cycle of Revenge. There's other champions that will remove debuffs or remove buffs. I'm sorry, from the enemy, and so that would proc. What is it? Rapid response, right?
Yeah, so
Um,
just off the top of my head, Ray would be the worst champion against enemy masteries, because her A3 does multiple things. It hits the enemy
right,
and can proc Cycle of Revenge. It
right.
removes the enemy's debuffs, which can provoke a rapid response. So by using her, she can actually increase the turn meter of your enemy by 25%.
You meant enemy buffs. You can remove enemy buffs, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't really considered. And then when you say like have a chance of enemy turn meter increase when a debuff is removed, so that'd be like bringing in like a battle sage or somebody to cleanse your team from debuffs that you've acquired.
Yeah,
And
Battle Kazar, or any type of cleanser to remove buffs off of your team that have been applied by the enemy team. Um, However, these conditions are very rarely going to happen, because the enemy team is going to have to be able to apply that debuff to you,
yeah, and
and then for you to remove it.
and
So
the premise of this whole thing is that we go first anyway. So
that's correct.
so
But
basically
for an
it's Hegemon
example,
or nothing. Yeah,
Hegemon could land lockout and uh, abilities, or certain sets like free set. So one of your enemies hits a champion and then gets frozen, and then you remove that freeze.
sure,
So there is a chance for it to proc. It's just not going to be very likely.
sure. Okay, well, great. And then the very last one I see is enemy passives. So this is going to be Coronar, Molly, and it looks like Valkyrie as well. Those are the three champions that seem to have passive abilities that grant turn meter boosts to their allies. Is that right?
That's correct. Anyone who's played in the arena and gone up against a Valkyrie, and for whatever reason their team hasn't been cut in 100 times, and they go up against a Valkyrie and they can't figure out why, it's her passive that does um, tremendous uh, damage to your turn meter and increases her turn meter as well.
Yeah. So I can see here already it's changed the minimum speed needed for Frozen Banshee. Just if we're applying the one speed buff from Lysandra and Valkyrie's on the other team, you can see the extra speed that's going to be needed there for Frozen Banshee to go first. This enemy accuracy, what is this for?
So a Valkyrie also, not only does she increase the turn meter of herself, she
Mm-hmm.
decreases the turn meter of your team when they apply a buff. So you can select yes there if you'd like to see if the enemy Valkyrie has high enough accuracy to win that accuracy check against you. And so you just saw right there, if you go up against the enemy Valkyrie, now all of a sudden, instead of being 140 before, now you're having your minimum speed needs to be 175.
Wow. Okay. Well, that really goes to show the power of a Valkyrie right there. That's pretty nuts. And like when you're facing a Siphi who has 3 buffs, that's going to be even stronger. That's pretty nuts. Okay, great. That's great to know. Excellent. So let's go ahead and choose Valkyrie for Lysandra right there, and we can see how that goes. And then let's move on to our next champion, Frozen Banshee. Now, Frozen Banshee, in this scenario, we'd actually want to use their A2 ability, right?
That's correct.
So
So her A2 ability is going to increase the turn meter of your allies 2% for every buff that's on the enemy team.
got you. So
or actually on the enemy target, because I believe it's a single target.
yes, that's correct. So we can just choose the first one, get a little 2% buff on there. And you guys can see there's just a small change, but there is a change to Madame Saris there from that ability by Frozen Banshee. But this is an example of one of the ally skills going into effect. And then we go over to Madame Saris. Madame Saris is our debuff stripper, or buff stripper, I should say. So she goes ahead and takes the buffs off the enemy with her A3 ability. Then what is that? What is that proc? That should proc one of those masteries, right?
That's correct. So by her removing the enemy's buffs, she's going to proc rapid response, which will give the enemy a turn meter increase.
Sure. And you can see the speeds of all these champions goes up, and we have a new minimum speed of looks like 187 for Frozen Banshee. And because we don't have any turn meter, we don't have much turn meter boost, just that little bit from Frozen Banshee there. That number hasn't really changed between Madame Saris and Molly Tankard either. That's interesting. And then Molly's our last champion. It doesn't really matter if we choose a skill or not. It's not going to affect anything, correct?
That's correct.
And so
one more thing while we're here.
Please.
If you go back down there to Molly,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you have a special team that doesn't really matter whether your 4th champion goes before the enemy team. So go ahead and select none for Molly Tankard. And now you notice that your minimum speed for your Madame Cerise is 162. Everybody's speed is slower now. Their speed requirements are slower. Since the last champion is not required to go, the calculator is going to calculate the minimum speed for each one of these champions to go. When you select a champion in that 4th position, and that champion, so go ahead and select Molly or any champion, really, doesn't matter. So if that champion's minimum speed here, Adriel, is 187.60, well, if she's 187 and then your other champions are slower than her, then obviously those champions are not going to go before her. They're not going to take their turns before her. So we need to adjust the 2nd and 3rd champion speed based off of
the 4th champion speed.
The 4th champion's minimum speed.
So basically what's happening is this enemy rapid response here. It's only really affecting that 4th champion because it's being procced here by Madame Saris. But if this 4th champion has to go at 187, well, then the 2nd and 3rd champions have to go at least that fast themselves. So
Correct.
Those speeds go up along with that. That's basically what we're saying?
Correct.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. So that's why when we have this champion, even though the speed actually goes up by having that 4th champion.
So if you're building out your champions here, and you notice that your debuffer and your stripper have to go a certain speed, and then you put your nuker in the last position, and all of a sudden those speeds increase, this is why.
Got you. That's a good thing to know. That's going to be a question on people's minds. So
and just like before, the helpful tooltips, the little question icons next to the advanced features, they do give you a brief description to help you get back on track on what each one of these do.
Which is a great addition to this. I think that's going to be really helpful for people. We always end up having questions or we forget something as we're going through it, so that makes a lot of sense to me. That's great. Also here for the Hegemons as well. That should really be helpful. One thing we might have forgotten to add is that there is a special case with Arbiter. Arbiter has an ability with her A4 to revive a fallen ally and give a 20% turn meter boost to her allies. Then she gets to take an extra turn. And with that extra turn, she can use that A3 ability, which is a 30% increase to her allies. Well, we don't have a way in the calculator to use two abilities back to back, but we can simulate that. The A4 ability for Arbiter actually gives a 50% turn meter boost. Basically, the 20% from the A4 plus the 30% from the A3. It's a special case, one of the few like that, but it is part of the meta currently where where an attacking team will carry a very feeble level 1 type of champion, and so when they die to, say, a Hegemon, Arbiter will have on their turn the ability to both res them and then do a second turn meter boost. And so that's part of that ability that is included in the calculator. Just by choosing Arbiter's A4, it'll give you a 50% turn meter increase instead of the 20% that's listed on the champion's skill. So that's something I wanted to make sure you guys knew, so there wasn't any confusion about that. You can see right here as we switch it from A3 to A4, when we go to A4, the minimum speed drops considerably, and that's because of that extra 20% turn meter boost. Well, excellent. Is there anything else that we missed, Zombie, that we should you think we should cover?
No, the calculator itself, as we discussed in the basic features, is recommended to set up your arena teams in order for you to not get cut in and do better. But the advanced features are there for you guys to play around with, theorycraft, come up with ideas, try to figure out a way to beat the speed meta. So if you guys come up with something cool, reach out to us on Discord or other platforms. Love to hear about it.
So for everybody out there, that's great, Zombie. That's absolutely true. We do always like to hear feedback from you guys. Feel free, please join my Discord. We answer a lot of these types of questions on there. Zombie Lord is one of our moderators over there. He pokes his head in periodically, and I'm sure if you tag him, if you have a specific question about the calculator, he'll be happy to answer that. We also have Wistix in there, so we have some really smart people answering arena questions for you guys if you'd like to come by and get those answered. You can also find Zombie Lord on Twitch, twitch.tv/ Zombie Lord Gaming, Zombie Lord with a 13, not an I and an E. Zombie Lord Gaming on Twitch. You can find him there. Definitely check him out for sure. Let him know how much you appreciate this, guys, because I know you do. This kind of tool does not come every day, and I'm really thankful that we're able to offer this to everybody. So, Zombie Lord, thank you so much for taking the time to explain this to us. More importantly, taking the time to make this amazing calculator, man. This is really great work. I hope you're proud of it, because you should be.
Yeah, it's a labor of love, and I thank you for having me on, and thank you for hosting the calculator, and I hope it helps a lot of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you guys want to see more information about the calculator, you want to hear more about Zombie Lord and where he started, make sure there's a video by Manable Gaming that you should be checking out. I will put a link to it. I'll put a card up to it as soon as that comes out, and so you guys can click on that. I'll put a link at the end of the video, something like that. You'll be able to find it nice and easy. Should check it out though. Much thanks to Manable for making this all happen too. Zombie Lord, much appreciated. And to the rest of you out there, till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.